Sea Fury of 1831 Squadron. 6 tons of magnificent metal hauled around the sky by 54 litres of sleeve valve Centaurus. The squadron flew the Fury from 1951 until jet conversion in 1955. And by 1951, Bill Story on the left there had taken over as CO, with Gilly on the right as commander of the Northern Air Division. The squadron had been joined by 1841. Di Stradling in the middle, Pete Barlow, Phil Blakey and Harry Berman RN on the right. On the right here is our old friend Wally Ride. And Ashfield, the staff officer, undergoing parachute training. Hash in Hackney. In 1952, the squadron flew to Malta for its annual training, flying out via Hyères in the south of France, using 90-gallon drop tanks on the Furies. The weapons training in Malta was very successful. On the steps of the wardroom at Hal Farr, Bill Machin on the right, Chris Brockbank next to him, Pat Elliott. And on the way to a cocktail party, I guess, here, Steve Donaghy on the left. Guns loaded. 60-pound heads on RP. And a mixed bag of 1831 and 1841 tiny sails in the middle. Dougie Kroll, Johnny Hamer, Pete Barlow. A mixed formation of Furies and Fireflies. And a lineup on the runway at Ford for the RNVR Jubilee. Aircraft recognition. Johnny Hamer on the left, Mike Eastwood. And a wardroom party. Four Furies, flown by Johnny Hamer, Jimmy Widdop, Pete Rouget and Pete Barlow, somewhere over the Cheshire Plain. And the whole division lined up. 1841 Squadron reformed in August 1952, equipped with the Firefly Mark I and then the AS Mark VI. Ken Tickle was the first CO, and Gaston Rivette here on the left was the senior pilot. This is a scene in Malta. Frank Morrell. Frank was briefly CO of 1831 and then took over 1841. Dickie Nuttall on the left. And the armourers loading up belts of 20mm ammunition. Joe Supple in the middle there with Ken and Frank. Stan Leonard, weapons training officer, here shown in Malta in 1954. And Johnny Hamer on the left, Jimmy Widdop in the middle, Pete Barlow. Johnny Hamer had his eye on a Seahawk here, but he was not to fly it. Pete Barlow with a Sea Fury. Fireflies in the background. Pete took over as CO in 1955 when the squadron converted to jets. Jimmy Widdop on the left became senior pilot. Dougie Kroll. Jimmy, Pete Rouget, Pete Barlow. Cone domes were new to us then. Ian McDade, Mick McClay, Jeff Holden. This Fury was flown by Bill Whitten, who'd taken over as staff officer. Bob Ranscombe and Pete Barlow heading out for a Vampire. Jet conversion took place in May 1955. 718 Squadron brought their Vampire trainers to Stretton for the first jet conversion course. The Fury here was one of the last flights flown by Bungie Williams over the northwest coast, somewhere near Fleetwood. This air-to-air shot was taken from a Vampire flown by Pete Barlow with Bob Ranscombe wheeled in the camera. We were sad to lose the Furies. Beautiful aircraft. There's Bungie and a Vampire in the circuit. Pete Rouget, the CO, and Dougie Kroll. Bill Brennan and Bungie Williams. There were no ejector seats in the Vampire. We had to carry our parachutes everywhere. Dougie and Bill were responsible for this one. Scrum down. Mick, Bill, Doug. Newly promoted by the look of things. The Vampire was flown by Pete Rouget and Jimmy Widdop. Come on, come in closer. The approach to runway 27 on finals. That was a terrible landing, Barlow. Can't you do better than that? It's a pity these things don't have reverse gear. Jimmy Widdop. It's an exhausting business. The attacker. We were sorry to lose the Sea Furies, but glad to get our hands on a jet at last. This one seems to be flat-bottomed by the rudder. Pete Barlow, Pete Rouget, Mick McClay, Don Baines, Bill Brennan and Dougie Kroll. And there's Bob Ranscombe, the owner of the camera. And Chunky Neville, one of the instructors of 718 Squadron, who did the jet conversion course. The grand old man, Bob Ranscombe. Touch and Goes by Pete Rouget and Jimmy Widdop. Visit of the Duke of Edinburgh in May 1956, talking to Dougie Kroll and Jeff Holden, and the squadron formation of attackers on the same occasion. The Ranscombe family take over the wardroom bar. Jim Hopkins, Bill Brennan, Mick McClay and Bob Ranscombe. By the end of 1956, the writing was on the wall for the squadron, and this was a dress rehearsal for our bowler hatting. Ian McDade, Dougie Kroll, Bill Brennan, Jimmy Widdop, Mick McClay, and last but not least, Pete Barlow, the original Teddy Boy. This was some formal occasion by the look of things. Wives and children, Sammy Dowell in the front there, Ollie Jones on the right. This is much more like it. 1841 Squadron. I'm not sure where this was taken. The Nissen hut doesn't look very familiar. And there's Dick and Nan and Richard over on the left there. This is an Avenger of 1841 with Jack Frost in the cockpit. Dickie Nuttall. And Jack again. The beard is quite genuine. The rumours were true. The squadron was to be disbanded. This ceremony took place in May 1957. The corpse of the Northern Air Division was laid to rest outside the squadron offices at Stretton. Well, it's not quite the end, actually. Johnny Johnson and George Lightfoot in his time have done an enormous amount to keep the memory of the Northern Air Division alive and to organise reunions regularly. They get better every time. This is the memorial plaque in Appleton Church and a few of the graves of some of our friends.